The city of Missoula put under an urban avalanche warning today, 5 years after that deadly 2014 avalanche at Mount Jumbo. Jill Valley joins us now. And Jill, you covered that avalanche 5 years ago. So what do you remember about that day?
I tell you, that was a very, very surreal moment. When we first heard that there was an avalanche on the scanner and they said the address, it was very shocking because that was in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and we knew that, the situation was definitely dire. And when we got there, it was a horrible blizzard, but you can see this house just crushed by the snowslide that came down, and we knew 3 people were trapped. So the situation was not frantic. There was a good organization in there to dig out these people, but what was shocking was the fact that the neighborhood just suddenly became filled with people running in with their own shovels and anything they could use to dig in an effort to find those 3 people who were missing. And I think at the end of the day, it was still mind-boggling that something like that could happen, although as we take a look at the topography of Mount Jumbo, I guess in a way it's surprising that it hadn't happened before.
And Jill, you were up there today, in fact, and ironically now there's this urban avalanche warning on this exact same day. Tell us about that and what is the latest?
Well, they called that about 11 o'clock this morning. They actually had a small slide on Mount Jumbo. It was actually triggered by an elk, because that's elk habitat, which shows that just about anything is going to trigger these slides up there. This particular slide was 75 feet wide, 3 feet deep, and 700 feet long. So they know conditions up there are ripe for avalanches. Now, what they have done is close down Mount Jumbo. Part of it's closed anyway in the winter because they're the elk that are up there doing their wintering stuff, but they have shut down the whole thing. They went up there and saw that the snowpack was just not stable. They also were aware of this early on because the weather pattern that we saw back in 2014, very similar to the weather situation that we saw earlier this week with all that snow and all that wind. They have learned a lot from that previous avalanche. There are clear signs that say that mountain is closed. They will be patrolling the area and keeping people away. The city even said that this is going to take a community to make sure that people get out of this alive. They're also telling people if you have a backyard that's up against Mount Jumbo and it's a little steep, to stay out of the backyard. Even the smaller ones on the base could trigger a larger avalanche up above.
Wow, very interesting. 5 years ago, you know, we watched the community of Missoula really step up. So I'm just kind of curious what's changed, you know, in that time frame. What do they know better now about urban avalanches?
Well, what's interesting is this is the first ever urban avalanche warning, and that was a phrase that nobody even knew before 2014, and now it's common and we all know what it means. It's an in-town avalanche that can hurt people. I know the fire and search and rescue folks have done some specialized training on what to do if they need to rescue somebody in an urban avalanche. There are a lot of different things to consider from a backcountry slide. I mean, you're talking about power lines and gas lines and all the debris, so they're specially trained for that. I think now that they are very vigilant and very aware that this is a possibility with the 2 mountains that we have right there in the middle of Missoula, that they do have to watch the weather and they do have to be up there measuring the snowpack. Jumbo is right next to Mount Sentinel. It's a little bit steeper, and that's generally where you're going to see problems. So this will be the new normal. We'll probably have more of these in the future as weather conditions warrant, because it can be pretty harsh up there and they have to be extra careful.
We're learning so much about it, and I just can't believe it's 5 years to the day. So Jill, thank you so much. Jill Valley reporting for us from Missoula.